My name is Robert Tabbs, and 5.5 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I knew none of the medications were working. The entire time was a downward spiral.
And I also lost my grandfather about 25 years ago to the disease. My family at the time felt like it was already too late to change the trajectory of the disease. And it breaks my heart when I hear the same stories today. The mission for Foundation for Precision Medicine is to bring AI and healthcare together to detect Alzheimer's early.
If you can detect Alzheimer's very early on, that is when the disease is most susceptible to treatment.
The data that we have access to are anonymized electronic healthcare records. We needed a HIPAA-compliant environment, which is why we use Google Cloud.
We're dealing with hundreds of variables on millions of patients, which generate billions of lines of data.
Google Cloud enables us to scale our operations, and with BigQuery ML, we are able to develop machine learning models faster and utilize our entire data. Being a nonprofit, we rely on our volunteers across the US, and Google Cloud really enabled us to do that. We wanted them to be able to apply machine learning on the data and look at trends themselves to empower them to come up with more innovative approaches to change the progression of the disease.
This work is so important to me because it helps us address this devastating illness that has no cure.
I heard somewhere that they said, don't forget that dots on the plot are people. And we really take that seriously.
Please welcome to the stage, Sudhir Hasbe.
So don't forget, the dots on the plots are people. That was a powerful story. So at Google, we are working with a lot of nonprofit organizations to provide our core data, analytics, and AI capabilities to solve large-scale social problems. Earlier this year, we launched Data Solutions for Change. It's a program where we provide our technology to nonprofits so that they can work with us on some of these challenging problems that we have. Most of you must have used Google Search today, yesterday, every day. To go ahead and actually make those magical experiences possible, using, indexing the whole world's data, making that information available, requires us to go ahead and have investments in large-scale data infrastructure. So over 18 years, we have created this large-scale infrastructure, created a highly secured environment to go ahead and collect this data, analyze it, and make those experiences possible. If you take a look at it, we have 8 products now which have more than 1 billion users. And all of these products, take, for example, Google Maps. In real time, you can take directions for a location. We can make sure traffic information in real time is available, and we can estimate how much time it's going to take for you to get to the destination. All of those experiences, as I said, require us to create this massive scale infrastructure, and requires us to have this whole environment where you can process big data. So big data is in our DNA. That's what we do. That's what our core business is. And with GCP, what we are doing is we are taking that core infrastructure that we have and making it enterprise-ready, making it available for enterprises to use that technology, use those capabilities to solve enterprise problems. If you look at it, according to IDC, around in 2025, there'll be 163 zettabytes worth of data in the world. And as that data grows, every enterprise will collect more and more information. And to make decisions based on the data, you will need infrastructure that can scale with you. Similarly, AI will be a differentiated capability for most organizations. And the one main thing is, if you want to be good at AI, you have to have really good analytics capabilities within your organization, because that is the foundation of AI. Good data, clean data is required for doing anything at scale with machine learning and AI. And today, if you look at it, less than 50% of structured data and less than 1% of unstructured data is actually used in organizations for making decisions. And this is per Harvard Business Review article that came out a year or so back. And so it's really hard in organizations to still take the structured and unstructured data and actually process it, make decisions on top of it. And we want to change that. As I've said, 18 years of investments in different technologies, making it easy internally to go ahead and analyze that data, use machine learning to create large-scale insights. That's what we want to bring to the world. One of our core principles as we start making the infrastructure available is this serverless capability. We want to have high-scale serverless managed services where, as customers, you can focus on analyzing and generating insights and not worry about infrastructure management, monitoring. If you were going to build your own infrastructure, most of the time you have to worry about all of these other things. You have to monitor the infrastructure. You have to make sure performance tuning is happening. You want to go ahead and provision resources, all of that. In our side, like on GCP side, our goal is we can worry about all of that. You can worry about bring your data, start analyzing, start getting value instantly of it. The second key tenet we have is we don't want to give you a point solution for one or the other thing. We want to give you the whole end-to-end portfolio of products so that you have an end-to-end solution for solving your problems. For example, if you wanted to bring data in real time, we have service around called Publish, Subscribe, PubSub, which allows you to collect large-scale events in real time and can scale globally for you. The other one is if you wanted to transfer your data, let's say you have marketing analytics data, you're working with Google already on AdWords and DoubleClick and GA360. With few clicks, we can get all of that data in our data warehouse, BigQuery, and then you can start analyzing that. Similarly, if you have an IoT data, we can bring all of that in. The next is for data processing, depending on what your skill set in the organization is. If you are Hadoop, Spark folks in the organization, you can use managed Hadoop proc service from Dataproc. Or if you have Java engineers, you can use Beam, which gives you a single API for stream processing, real-time streaming, as well as batch processing within your organization. And if you have analysts, you can use Cloud Data Prep, which is a visual data wrangling product, which allows you to go ahead and profile the data, view the data, and then actually wrangle it, save it back into your stores. Additionally, on data warehousing side, we have BigQuery. We'll talk more about it later in the talk. And cloud storage, where you can put all your structured, unstructured data and build out a data lake on top of GCP. In addition to that, then on the advanced analytics side, we have a lot of capabilities. You can use BigQuery for analysis. You can use ML Engine. You have TensorFlow. You can use Sheets and Data Studio and some of the tools that we have. And to bring all of these portfolio of products together, we have a workflow management system on top of that called Cloud Composer. So overall, a portfolio of products across the board. And if you think about it, if you're going to do ML AI, it's a whole pipeline that you have to think about. How do you ingest data? How do you explore data? What's the data preparation going to look like? What is the pre-processing you need to do of the data? That's the whole thing. 80% of our data scientist time goes into doing this kind of activity. And what we want to do is make it really easy for users to do that. And then there is the whole other side of the machine learning, which is your training, your hyper-tuning, your testing, and then you're actually predicting based on all the models that you're creating. So the whole pipeline end-to-end, we have a portfolio that allows you to do all of that. Again, we are seeing tremendous momentum across the globe in every region. We are seeing a lot of customers adopt Google Cloud, especially for data analytics purposes across different industry verticals. Like one of the largest Hadoop clusters, we just moved it onto GCP. And with that, what I want to do is call upon Nicholas and Kenneth from King to share their story, how they are using the whole GCP platform for analytics. Hey, Kenneth, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Sudhir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, welcome. Can you guys share who you are? Tell us a bit more about King.
Sure. So I've been at King for over 5 years. I'm currently leading the program to migrate our data warehouse to Google Cloud Platform. King itself is over 15 years old. We've been part of Activision Blizzard since 2016. We make free-to-play mobile games, Candy Crush being the one you've probably all heard of. But we've actually released over 200 titles to date, and we're super excited that we'll be adding one to that number tomorrow with the global launch of Candy Crush Friends Saga, the fourth game in the Candy Crush franchise, which is going to be our biggest game launch ever. And we have 270 million monthly active users as at the last quarter, so as you can imagine, that generates a whole lot of data.
Yep, and I'm Nick. I'm leading one of the engineering teams working on King's migration to GCP. In my mind, King really is the embodiment of a data-driven organization. In pretty much every decision we base on our games is backed up by data. As Kenneth mentioned, we have over 270 million monthly active users.
Wow.
They generate up to 50 billion game events each day.
Wow.
Now, we use those events for measuring every facet of our games, from installs, purchases, spotting live issues with our games, A/B testing new features. I mean, the list goes on and on. The key thing is everything is measured. Every choice is backed up by data.
So Kenneth, what made you look at the cloud?
Sure, yeah. So as I'm sure is common for most people in this room, we started to notice a general industry trend towards public cloud, both for infrastructure in general, but particularly for analytics and machine learning. And then at the same time as that, we started to sort of see some themes emerging inside our own business. So for example, teams wanting to be able to provision multiple environments more easily, our business wanting to be able to support multiple tenants more easily, some of our ML folks starting to need access to the latest ML hardware, GPUs, TPUs, and so on. We had a generally reliable stack, but we had some reliability issues sort of here and there. And we just sort of were all asking ourselves as well, do we want to be in the low-level infrastructure operations game, or do we want to focus higher up the stack? And so sort of taking those two themes together, the industry trends and sort of the themes inside our own business, we thought there's something here, we need to look at this.
And so Nick, what made you choose GCP then?
Well, the first use case we wanted to tackle with cloud was the migration of our on-premise data warehouse. Previously, King used to store all of their data in a 20 petabyte, 500-node Hadoop cluster. Most users would query this with Hive or perform more complex analytics with MapReduce or Spark. So over many, many months, we did an extensive evaluation of various cloud providers, and we found that GCP provided the best analytic capabilities and performance for our needs. In addition, we really bought into your future vision for the platform, and I think when you consider Google's contribution to the space with things like Beam, TensorFlow, I think it's really clear you're leading the market here.
Awesome. So what GCP products do you use in the environment?
Well, the core of our new analytics platform is BigQuery. We're heavily invested with over 10 petabytes stored. We love it. It's got us out of the capacity planning game, and being a fully managed service means our engineers can concentrate on use cases actually relevant to King and gaming. We are heavy Dataflow users, so we ingest all of our game events each day using Dataflow. In fact, we've already processed over 7 trillion events this way.
Wow.
I mean, one aspect of Dataflow we really like is auto-scaling. So as Kenneth mentioned, we've got a game launching tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, game launches used to be quite challenging. Even with the best play testing in the world, it's really difficult to predict how popular the game will be and capacity plan accordingly. But now with Dataflow auto-scaling, even if we get spikes in traffic, our jobs can scale out automatically.
That's awesome. Kenneth, what are the big business metrics that have been impacted with the migration and all the things that you're doing?
Yeah. So it's early days yet in our migration. We're just sort of coming towards the final stages of that. But there's 3 benefits we've already seen that I think are worth calling out today here. So performance, unification, and agility, and I'll talk a little bit to each of those. So performance, first of all. So previously, the bulk of the queries, the analytics queries at King were run on Hive. And so now a lot of that work has moved to BigQuery, and that's really been a step change in terms of performance for our users. We also enjoy the tooling around BigQuery, so a very clean web UI, command line tools, client libraries, and so on. So performance has certainly been a big win for us. Then one of the themes that also drove us to look at GCP was the chance to unify. So we used to have 3 analytics SQL engines. With the move to GCP, we're consolidating on 1 in BigQuery. And so this means for our users, they only have 1 SQL dialect to kind of get familiar with in future. For our data management teams, it means generally landing data only in one place. And for the organization as a whole, it means we can focus on training, tooling, et cetera, for one platform rather than several, which just frees up cycles for us to spend on other topics. And then finally on agility, so we love the project construct in GCP. It sounds a bit of an administrative thing perhaps, but the project construct in GCP has allowed our teams to be much more agile than they've been able to in the past. So teams own their own environments in GCP at King, which means they can provision VMs or create new data sets in BigQuery without having to raise a ticket to a central team. So performance, unification, agility.
That's awesome. It seems like a big program. Other companies that are going to start the journey on this, any recommendations, any tips for others?
Yeah, sure. So I've got one main piece of advice. That would be do everything in your power to reduce the migration phase. I mean, in King, we took the conscious decision to complete our migration within 1 year, knowing full well this would cause a certain amount of pain and discomfort. We felt the alternative would have been far worse. I mean, running on-prem and in the cloud for an extended period is obviously going to cost more financially, but we also felt it would distract our engineers from all the more important value-add work, so key in making King a world leader in mobile games. I mean, another thing, once we started the migration, the entire engineering org got really excited about new possibilities. They really couldn't wait to get stuck into the new tools.
That's awesome. Where do you go from here? What's later this year, 2019, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah. So as Nick mentioned, we took the very conscious decision to move to GCP for our data warehouse relatively quickly. So as we move into 2019, we expect to spend some cycles focusing on optimization and making more cloud native some of the things that we perhaps lifted and shifted this year. But then looking beyond that, we're also excited to start looking at some of the unique capabilities that drove us to GCP in the first place. So BigQuery ML, for example, that I know you're going to talk about in the talk later. Yeah. We've got a couple of people looking at that already. And then as Airflow users at King, we're keen to look at Cloud Composer and whether that can allow us to work even more efficiently. Yeah,
and let's not forget, GCP isn't just about machine learning, analytics. Yeah. I mean, it's a broader platform than that. So whilst we still imagine that certain key aspects will remain on-prem for now, we can absolutely see our hybrid cloud strategy broadening over time. I mean, we're already starting to identify different things in the organization which we could start to migrate to GCP soon, and hopefully we'll have more to show on that next year.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks very much.
Yep. So that's a great example of how King is using the whole spectrum of products that we have, services that we have, to solve different problems. There are 4 key areas or scenarios that I want to cover today in this talk that our customers are using. The first one is modernizing data warehouse. You saw an example of that. We'll talk later more about that. The second is analyzing streaming data. Real-time stream processing is another big scenario that customers are leveraging GCP for. Third one is a powerful open source product. So if you manage Hadoop and Spark distributions, if you're deploying large-scale infrastructure around it, GCP is the best platform to go ahead and run those kind of workloads. And the fourth one is self-service BI. How do you visualize and activate your data once you have everything in GCP are the 4 key areas. So let's talk about modernizing data warehousing. BigQuery. BigQuery is the large-scale, cloud-scale data warehouse, allows you to go ahead and store infinite amount of data, process it. You just heard King has like 20 petabytes of data in BigQuery. We have customers way more than that. We have customers having data sets in a terabyte, less than a terabyte, less than 10 terabytes and all. So there is a whole spectrum of usage on that front. But the biggest thing is it's a completely serverless, highly scalable data warehouse that can scale to your needs as your needs grow over a period of time. The next thing is it's convenient standard SQL. So we support ANSI SQL. So if your analysts know SQL already, this is a very easy transition for them to use BigQuery. The next thing is one of the other key capabilities that we have is you can ingest streaming data in real time into BigQuery. And because we have decoupled our storage and compute, as well as state in BigQuery, your performance does not get impacted when you're doing real-time stream processing. So So for example, when King is processing 50 billion events daily and ingesting directly into the data warehouse, your query performance is not going to get impacted at scale. And that is a very critical thing in a lot of different scenarios. If you think about ingesting data from point-of-sale systems or ingesting data from web clicks, ingesting data from IoT devices, you want infrastructure that can scale without impacting your analytics on top of it. In addition to that, just a couple of months back, we launched BigQuery ML. So traditionally, the problem with machine learning is you have all your data in large-scale data warehouses or data lakes or whatever we call them, and then you have to take all the data out, what you think is relevant, move into a machine learning engine, run a model, you realize, oh, that didn't work, I need to go change something, do more feature engineering, go back in your data warehouse or data lake, change stuff, again do the movement. The whole time it takes to go ahead and optimize data sets, pre-process, and move that across out of the system, move it closer to the machine learning engines, that's where most of the time for analysts and data scientists goes. So what we said was, why do you have to do that? Like, can you reduce that? And the second thing was the skill set gap. If you wanted to build highly efficient machine learning models, there are not enough experts in the industry to go do that. So our thing was, all our customers already know SQL, so why can't we help SQL analysts do machine learning directly within BigQuery? And why don't we bring the machine learning engine inside the data warehouse rather than moving data every time out of the system? So that's what BigQuery ML is. BigQuery ML is just, you get syntax, SQL syntax, you use the data that's already in your data warehouse. You just start with create model, model name. I want a linear regression, logistical regression. Over a period of time, we'll add way more different models. But you can just mention that, and then you give what the input data set is. Then select star from a table, and I want to predict something else. So that's it. And then on the output side, you just go ahead and say, select, and I want to ml.predict the prediction, and then you give the input data set, and you get the output back. So literally 2 lines of code, you can start writing machine learning models and start using them pretty instantly. Here are some of the early adopter customers that have actually used BigQuery ML for solving real problems. So for example, Hearst newspaper and News UK, everything there is about subscriptions. So how many customers are going to churn away from subscriptions? What customers are more likely to subscribe to a particular the subscription that they have? That was basically the optimization. So when you have your subscribers, you want to analyze the data. How many times are they coming in? And leverage that data to predict. So that's what they have been doing. 20th Century Fox was actually on the other side. Based on the segments that have seen a previous movie, they wanted to start predicting and classifying which other customer segments are more likely to watch the next movie that's coming out for them. And then their thing was the advertising campaigns could be targeted to them rather than targeting to the whole audience. It's just a return on investment, how much money you want to spend on advertising and all. So that's what they were doing. So a lot of very different kind of examples for classification problems and prediction problems that customers are solving it for. It's already available and something to look at. One of the other things we are doing is also, yes, you can write SQL, and it's all good, but we are also integrating this capability with our partners. Like Looker is one of our partners. They have a pretty good BI stack, and they have integrated BigQuery ML directly from the API. What that allows you to do now is you can do the exploration of data directly in Looker. The data is in BigQuery. You can go ahead and create a model in the visual way, and then go ahead and operationalize the whole ML workflow from the tool itself. So without even looking at what the SQL syntax looks like, an analyst could just go ahead and visually create all these models and operationalize them. So that's what BigQuery ML is. You heard the video earlier. They have been using it. There are a lot of customers trying to use it. So I would say if there was one thing to go try out after today, that's one thing I would recommend everybody to take a look at. The other thing is, so BigQuery is a global service. It's available today in multi-region fashion in US. It's available in multi-region in Europe. But we have heard a lot of requests from customers on regional deployments and regionalization of data. So customers told us, we don't want the data to leave London, like UK. It has to be within the jurisdiction of UK. So a lot of other requests like that. So for that, today we are basically making the UK region, London region available for BigQuery. So starting today, customers can start storing their data, and our commitment is that data will never leave the London data center that we have. Come what may, whatever happens with the data center, we'll let it go with the data center. So that's our main commitment on that. Along with that, we will launch total 12 regions in next 4 months, so that there are options available. So we have, in Europe, we have Finland coming. We have Frankfurt coming in next 3 to 4 months as other 3-4 options. We already have, the multi-region is already available in Belgium, Netherlands, and all. So those are the areas that we are going to expand into in coming next 3 to 4 months. So that's one. Other than that, a lot of other announcements, a lot of other capabilities we are launching. One of the big ones is clustering. So if you're using data warehousing on GCP, if you use other data warehouses, partitioning and clustering is super critical, especially if you have petabyte scale data sets like some customers have, or even terabytes. Clustering gives you ability to improve performance, reduce cost in general. So we can literally run petabyte scale queries. There's actually a session that shows that, where you can do a petabyte scale data set clustered. Your performance can be literally in seconds on that kind of a data set. So that's a good one. The scheduled query is another one. A lot of our analysts who use SQL to go ahead and run analysis, they want to schedule it, they want to run it on a constant basis. So we're making that available directly in the data warehouse itself. 2 other key capabilities we announced in the recent past. One is GIS. So geospatial data is like native first-class citizen now in BigQuery. The big thing is questions like, I have a point, how many pizzas stores are available in 2-mile radius from here. If you want to do that kind of a query, or I have a fulfillment center in location A, how many shipments that I need to send in a 3-mile radius, and what do I do with it? Like those kind of queries will be natural within BigQuery, starting the beta that's available already on it. And the next one is the connector from Big Sheets, the Sheets, where you can go ahead and use Sheets to go ahead and connect to BigQuery, pull the data in, start processing, visualizing, and all. So that's on the modernizing data warehouse as one thing. Let's switch gears, talk about streaming and streaming analytics. Streaming is becoming more and more interesting, important for everybody in organizations, right? So if you look at the whole pipeline of streaming, real-time ingestion, you want ability to collect large-scale events and let the infrastructure take care of scaling up and down when that happens, right? Gaming events is a good example. Web clicks is another example. One of our customers, they have a peak that happens in the morning, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Most customers come in. Throughout the day, the number of customers on the site are low. So we can actually scale up and down what infrastructure is required without customer having to pay for the peak loads and all. So that's there. PubSub allows you to do that. For transformations, once the data comes in, you want to transform it, and you want to pre-process before you put it into your data warehouse. Dataflow is a great solution for that. It's, again, auto-scaling. And then analyzing, you can put it into BigQuery or use Cloud ML Engine for machine learning predictions and stuff like that on top of it. So example scenarios that are becoming a lot popular here is, again, e-commerce, clickstream data. Traveloka is a great example where they use real-time streaming of their clickstream data, which allows them to go ahead and do dynamic user segmentation. So which users are coming, what are they doing, you can do that. Qubit is retail, so point of sale, collection of those transactions to get real-time inventory across the whole system. Nintendo and Pokemon, so where are the best Pokeballs in the environment? And Nest, of course, is an IoT example here. Now with that, let me call upon David from Sky to talk more about what they have been doing within their environment. Hey, David, welcome.
Thank you.
So can you introduce yourself and tell us more about Sky?
Of course, thank you. I'm David Parfit. I run the data architecture team at Sky, and I'm sure many of you in the audience are customers already. I guess we're famous for two things. One's content and the other innovation. So Game of Thrones, for instance, is one of the things we broadcast. There's a new series coming soon, which is exciting. We're also known for our world-class sports broadcasting, so English Premier League and Ryder Cup golf for the Europeans in the audience. From the innovation side, our Sky Q box is a fantastic innovation in home TV consumption. So for instance, you're a Netflix subscriber. From next month, you'll be able to use your Sky Q box to view Netflix, to be able to see it on a big screen.
So what were the key challenges you were trying to solve moving into cloud? So can you share some of those?
Yeah, I think our main challenge was around pace, the ability to get data into users' hands really quickly. So if you look at what we've done over a number of years, it's taken time to structure data, to write ETL processing, put it into people's hands. And of course, in any business, people want to get hold of the data to understand how to use it and to iterate. So with now using Beam on the Dataflow runner, with using BigQuery, we're actually not just doing a technology change and getting data into people's hands quicker, but also seeing a cultural change, which we think is just as important. That means we can improve the dialogue with our customers. You know, we can have a conversation with them about not just delivering the data, that kind of first point of delivery, but also then what we can do to improve it and rationalize it and get into a dialogue with them that's based on how to get business value from that data.
That's awesome. Why did you select GCP? Any specific reasons can you share?
Yeah, of course. I think for us, again, a lot of it was rooted in being able to modernize our data warehousing in BigQuery. That was the core reason for doing it. We also were really impressed with the ability to work with Google on, for instance, product development with your team. So we've enjoyed that, I guess, change in the way we're working with our main supplier, yourselves. And we're seeing a lot of benefit come out from that. So yeah, closer relationship in product development is really paying dividends for us.
That's great. What products do you use from GCP side?
So primarily it's Dataflow and BigQuery. We're also starting to use Data Prep. Okay. And then, yeah, widening out to ML and basically trying to create an environment for our users when they can benefit from all of those products.
Got it. Can you share key benefits that you've got by moving to GCP?
Yeah, and again, a lot of it is about just that faster pace of interaction with customers. But what we're also seeing is that we're able to join data. I mean, it's a simple thing, right? It's a really simple thing, but I think like many enterprises, we were storing different sets of data in different databases, and it was a challenge to bring that out and join it together. So, for instance, joining a customer data set with some of the activity on, for instance, the Sky Q box was possible, but it was a challenge. It would take time, and it would be difficult to take action from that. So that's certainly one thing that we're seeing a lot of business benefit from.
That's awesome. Where do you go from here? What's the next? What are you looking forward to in 2019?
So the really exciting thing for us is streaming and real-time analytics. And again, the business case for us is huge. You know, that ability to understand what the customer is doing in our digital channels, as well as what they're viewing and tying that together. So to give you an example, one of our recent series is Save Me, which was filmed near here. We know that about half the people who watched all of the episodes within a week.
Got it.
Now, if you're that customer, then what we want to be able to do is say, what next? What should you consume next? Yeah. And being able to do that type of analytics in real time, so that that customer finishes that kind of binge watching session of Save Me and then knows what to go on to next, or there's a recommendation is hugely valuable for us.
That's perfect. And with the investment earlier, you said you're using Beam and Dataflow. I think the advantage is Beam provides you with the capability that the same code that you've written on batch processing today will automatically work on streaming data. And so there is all the investments get reused, which is awesome.
And we're exactly taking advantage of that, because today we're very much in batch mode, but we will be changing our data sourcing. And as you say, it means it's a very easy thing to do. It's a low investment cost to get that running.
That's great. Future-proofing. Thank you, David. Thanks a lot for coming and sharing your story. So that's how Sky is using the infrastructure from data warehousing, Dataflow, all the stream processing, batch processing together. With that, some more things that we are launching this week and just in a couple of weeks week before. There's a whole streaming engine that allows you to go ahead and do responsive auto-scaling based on the streams of events that are coming. With Dataflow, that's there. Python streaming, this has been one of the biggest asks from our customers. There's no good Python streaming library, so we are introducing that. And then another thing, earlier when I was talking to my friends at King, they do use Kafka as well as PubSub in different scenarios within the organization. So we know a lot of customers like Kafka. They want to continue using that. So we have partnered with Confluent to provide a managed Kafka service. So if you're Kafka users and you want to keep using Kafka, now you have a managed service in GCP that allows you to go do that. So those are the 3-4 key things that we are making available. Another next area that I want to talk about is open source. Being an open cloud is very important for us. It's one of our core principles. And so we are continuously investing in that space. There are a couple of areas, product services that are available for this. So the whole idea with Cloud Data Proc is taking and making the large-scale Hadoop Spark deployments possible using GCP. And then on the other side, when we started thinking about, we lacked a good workflow orchestration service within GCP. And we were like, what should we do? Should we go build one ourselves, or should we just bet on something most of our customers love? So started talking to customers. Most of our customers are already on Airflow, including King. They're just mentioning that they use Airflow for orchestration. So we basically just used that and made that available as a managed service. So if you're an Airflow customer, now it's an easy transition getting into GCP with a Cloud Composer. If you really think about what is the value of a managed service in a cloud environment versus doing and deploying a large-scale Hadoop cluster by yourself, like you can, on premises, create a 500-node cluster and just keep it running. The challenge is if you look at the things that you will have to go do to manage that cluster, monitor the cluster, everything from scaling to job submission, like all of that is your responsibility when you do it yourself. Take it forward, you can run it on GCP as is, still you get a lot of benefits from GCP. But if you're using managed service like Dataproc, you just have to worry about what your business logic, business algorithms are, and we take care of all of the infrastructure underneath it. With some of the capabilities we are adding on auto-scaling on Dataproc, we will be able to go ahead and do more and more auto-scaling on your Hadoop and Spark infrastructure too. So that's the key thing. If ESG did this study on the cost benefits analysis of using Dataproc, it's 57% more cheaper to run Hadoop Spark workloads on Dataproc in GCP compared to putting it on premises, and then 32% compared to a competing cloud provider that's there. On Cloud Composer side, which is a workflow orchestration service, as I said, we based it on Airflow. The big things we provide out of the box with that is end-to-end GCP integration. So integrating into all the different GCP services, making sure monitoring and everything is there with Stackdriver, making sure all the other services like BigQuery, Dataflow, Dataproc, like you can have operators and sensors for that. So out of box, your experience with all of our services is really great. But leveraging Airflow, the biggest advantage we get is now you can create these orchestrations, the workflows that can span multi-cloud or hybrid on-premises and in cloud. So for example, you could literally have some data in S3, which you can move to BigQuery storage, run a query, and send an email when the query is done. So literally, you can go cross clouds. You can go trigger something on premises, and then have a whole completion of things that you can go do that. So it's basically an easy workflow orchestration tool that is there. Again, in both these areas, so Composer is now GA. We also have a bunch of other key capabilities we are announcing at the event. One of the big ones, it was mentioned in, I think, HSBC talk earlier today, who manages the encryption keys and what happens. So CMEK, which is a customer managed encryption key capability, with the Hadoop and Spark environment now, you can literally have the GCE, the compute engine, storage, BigQuery, anywhere where your data is going to move, you can manage all of those keys yourself, and everything is going to be working end-to-end. So that's one of the big capabilities we are making available. The other one is also with Dataproc. We're making it easy to go ahead and deploy popular open source projects by just checkbox-like experience. So you can take Dataproc, say, hey, I want to deploy Druid. Why don't you deploy a Druid cluster for real-time analytics? And you can do that now. So that's how easy we are making it to go ahead and get more and more Apache projects on the platform. And then, of course, Python 3 is the other area that we are expanding. Visualizing and activating data. The key thing here is the biggest thing that customers, everybody is trying to do is self-service BI. Like, I have data. Now I want everybody in my organization to actually start using it. How do we do that? So it's a self-service BI. But we are taking it one step farther. We want to go ahead and make this ability to access data, also make it collaborative. Once I create a dashboard, I want to be able to go ahead and share it with folks in the organization. So that's one big area. Exploring the data yourself, profiling the data is a key thing. And then collaboration across organization, making it more data-driven is one of the key things. So just last week, we announced GA for both Data Studio and Data Prep. I will talk quickly about that, and let's jump onto some demos immediately after that. So Data Studio allows you to, it's a tool that we have built. It's a BI tool. You can go ahead and use it for doing a lot of marketing analytics. So if you're using AdWords, if you're using DoubleClick, you can just directly go connect to those systems. You can do good visualization. But it also works well with GCP data sources. So BigQuery, if your data is in BigQuery, you can use Data Studio to instantly create amazing dashboards and share them with across different folks in the organization. And then on Data Studio, you can also do data blending. So you can take different data sources from two different systems and then blend them and create amazing visuals and all. And it also has a template gallery, which allows you to take pre-created templates to go ahead and just out-of-box reports and visualizations and all. Cloud Data Prep is our solution, which allows you to do data wrangling. And data wrangling is mainly, as I said, 80% of data scientists' time goes into analyzing, changing, fixing the data problems that are there. And so this is our partnership with Trifacta, where basically we have a wrangling product on the web where you can go ahead and connect to GCP sources, visualize it, look at the profile of the data, and then take action on it, cleanse it, and then actually store it back into GCP data sources, and then start using it for machine learning, for analytics, or whatever you want to use it for. So with that, let me call upon James Malone to go ahead and share a couple of demos on Data Studio and Data Prep. James?
Thanks. So what I'm going to do today is show you a few goodies. I'm going to show you some new BigQuery goodies. We're going to go through Data Studio, and I'll also show you Data Prep. So first, let's start with BigQuery. If you have not seen, this is the beautifully redesigned BigQuery user interface in the Google Cloud Console. It looks very different, but the functionality is very similar to what you used to get in the old BigQuery UI, but now it's beautiful inside of the Cloud Console. In this case, I've zoomed things in so they're hopefully a little bit easier to read. And I have a query here that's going to use a sample data set that has some gaming data. So I can run a query here, and you'll see the results show up inside of the browser here. Much like the old BigQuery UI, in this case, there's 9,000 results. We're getting just a few because the screen's a little bit small. But you'll see this brand new button here that allows you to take this sample and explore it inside of Data Studio. So it's very easy to take insights from BigQuery if you're doing ad hoc SQL and use it to power visualizations and dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button. It's going to take that sample data set and move it over to Data Studio to allow us to play with the data. In this case, we're in the Explore area where we can play around with that query and try and create the right visualization or the right understanding for the data that was returned in that query. In this case, we're looking at the genre of a game, and it's just counting the number of records that belong to that genre. But say that we wanted to understand something different. Maybe the total sum of sales for each genre at a particular point in time. As you can see, it's very easy to just click and get different results and change what I see. In this case, I see that the sum of sales is just a number. Maybe I know intuitively this really should be formatted in United States dollars. Changing data types in Data Studio is really easy. In this case, I can actually just click on the edit next to the sum of sales. I can go to type, and Data Studio knows this might actually be a currency, so it shows me a bunch of different currencies that it can use to format. And you can see now it's just applied that formatting automatically. I didn't have to go and change my query or try and perform a lot of really complicated SQL. I can also change the type of visualization quite easily. So let's say that we want to look at a time series to understand how things change over time. And we want to look at, instead of the genre, let's look at the publisher and the sum of sales over time. And you can see that Data Studio is regenerating these visualizations pretty effortlessly on my part. Now, if I wanted to take this visualization and put it into a new dashboard, that's very easy to do. And you can also see that there's a whole host of different visualizations and ways to understand this data, and I can add multiple visualizations to a dashboard. In terms of Data Studio, there's a few other things that I want to call out. First is the ability to connect to a wide variety of data sources. You saw me pull results from BigQuery quite easily, but that doesn't just mean that I can only pull from BigQuery. You can see that there's a whole host of different connectors here that I can use to populate data inside of Data Studio. And as Sudhir mentioned, it's also quite easy to blend these sources of data together. So maybe I have data in AdWords, and data in BigQuery, and data that's just in cloud storage. It's very easy to combine all of these inside of Data Studio without really any complicated ETL processing. The other thing that I want to show you is the report gallery. So this allows you to get started really easily and make really awesome pixel-perfect reports without investing a lot of time or having to hire a designer. So one of the ones that I actually personally use from this is there's a Google Fit dashboard in here. And my screen's a bit smaller, so it's a bit hard to find. But you can see that there's a whole host of different visualizations in here. So if you wanted to get started, there's, for example, a Google Analytics dashboard in here that will work almost out of the box if you connect your Google Analytics data set to it. The next thing that I want to show you is Cloud Data Prep. So as mentioned, Data Studio just went generally available, as did Cloud Data Prep. Cloud Data Prep is based on Trifecta's Enterprise Wrangler product, and it's designed to allow business analysts to easily understand what is in a data set, to clean the data set, to reprocess the data set so it's actionable without having to involve developers in that process. It's going to load data set. In this case, I've linked data prep to that sample data set that I had that had the game sales. I'm going to go ahead and create a new flow. A flow is essentially one or more data cleansing steps. So I'm just going to name this James Test. And inside of this flow, we're going to add a data set. In this case, I already have used these two data sets in the past. So data prep is trying to make it easy for me to wrangle the same sources of information. If I wanted to go add new data sets, all I have to do is click this Import Datasets button and point to BigQuery or cloud storage where my data is located. Once I import these data sets into my flow, I can then add a series of recipes. And these recipes are going to be transformation steps that I can apply to the data to transform and cleanse it. In this case, we have a game ratings data set. And let's go ahead and add a new transformation step to this data set. So let's edit the recipe. And you'll see that data prep automatically profiles the data, and it's going to show me an understanding of what the data looks like. And it's doing a random sample on this data, and there's a whole host of sampling techniques if you want to nerd out about sort of what data you see. And it's going to show me insights and recommendations about what I might want to do with this data based on what it sees. So you can see there's a whole host of data here inside of this table. And let's take this release year, for example. 1970, to me, as a data analyst, looks very suspicious. That seems like something I've heard of that's maybe related to this thing called Unix time, and I know it's probably a bunch of bogus data, and this data set shouldn't actually have anything in it from before, say, 1996. So what I can do is select all of the data going up to 1996, and then data prep will show me a few different things that I might want to do with the data that I've selected. In this case, I can just say delete the data within the selected range, and data prep will automatically add a transformation step to delete the data within that range. So you can see that it's quite easy to just start doing basic wrangling. Say I wanted to do something more complicated. Say I want to do something like a regular expression to extract just part of this URL. You can see that intelligently data prep is starting to show me things that might be relevant to that transformation step. It's actually showing me inputs for regular expressions or a trifecta wrangler script. So in this case, I could say, let's try and start extracting certain portions of this URL based on regular expressions. The other thing that I'll show you about data prep, and going back to this flow, is it makes it easy to understand deficiencies in your data. And this is really important if you're using the data for things like ML or AI. So if you are generating insights on bad data, those insights are much less actionable. And this is where data prep can be really powerful. So let's take this year, for example. It has automatically identified that there's missing values in this. So I can just automatically delete these rows. And now when I run this recipe, it will clean my data. And with that, I will hand it back to Sudhir.
Thanks, James. Thanks a lot. So that's a good example of That's a great example of one of our key focus areas is ease of use. How do we make it easy to analyze the data once the data is already available on the platform? And starting with Data Studio, where you can do self-service BI, make dashboards, generate reports, and also data wrangling. How do you drag, drop, create these recipes, cleanse the data, and start making it more useful within the environment? So that's the key focus on ease of use. The other thing that we fundamentally believe in is having a very strong partner ecosystem. And it's not just like most of the BI tools, most of the data ingestion tools, most of our data integration tools all work with our GCP products. Like BigQuery, you can almost use any of the BI products and it will work with BigQuery without any problem. But across ingestion and everything, you'll be able to use any of the products, any of the investments that you already have, we can reuse them. And we're also working with Confluent and Trifacta and other folks in the industry to deliver these first-class experiences on these services. Other than that, we are recognized as a leader in the platform as a service, Wave of Forrester. And there's a lot more information in this space available on the big data site on Google Cloud website. So please go take a look at it. And thank you for your time today.